nu, Stefan? Nej.
Ja, han skrev att han skulle komma in nu. Han trodde det var 2030. Det var det också i och för sig.
Där var vi live.
Nu är det långt.
Var vi live?
Okay. I'm just gonna add Stefan here.
Går det att göra så att alla syns i bild samtidigt? För just nu är det på vem som pratar.
Utan tröja och allt möjligt stakar man.
Men ska du se, streama det nu, eller vad?
Ja, men det är bara den som pratar syns i bild.
Inte ens där.
Okay. Fantastisk. Jag vet inte om jag kan göra något med det.
Kan du ta text?
All right, but if we're let's switch over to English and cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Hello, hello.
Cheers.
See you again.
Cheers.
Likewise.
Only Johannes and Ingmar are not drinking alcohol, and it's a Sunday, so it's just Diet Coke for you guys.
Work tomorrow morning.
We have people from Belgium and Spain and Germany.
Fantastic. This is the first time we're trying this out, and I cannot really. Oh, here we go. We have Simon here as well from the Real Riders, and the Dutch Mini, and the girl from the Tenerife Trophy trip we met in Croatia.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Stefan, are you? Can you hear anything?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, but I cannot see anything. I mean, no, you can see your 6 pictures. Should I go into the YouTube channel to see more?
You can try.
Are you sick, my
all right,
friend?
but welcome everybody. We're just going to start off. This is the first time we're trying this out. We haven't tried this out before, so let's see how it goes. First off, I just want to introduce everybody here to the guys. The first in alphabetical order is Ingmar. Ingmar, can you please raise your hand, my friend, and say hello to everybody?
Hello, everybody.
So Ingmar, he's Norwegian, and his biggest passion is riding heavy enduro bikes, very expensive heavy enduro bikes, and yeah, he's also the non-biological older brother of Johannes. He basically takes care of Johannes's life when we're on a trip, before and after and under. So yeah, yes, Johannes. Some of you might know Johannes Dolan from his own YouTube channel that he's currently taking a little bit of a break from, maybe switching over to some hiking.
We will see. Nice to see you guys again. Nice to be here. I would like to correct you. Ingvar is not my brother. He's more like my father, I would say.
Yeah, that's a non-biological father, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah, but exactly. Age-wise, brother is more fitting, I think, than selling yourself a bit high,
or him low. Yeah, both.
Yeah, both. We have Rasmus in the corner up here. Rasmus's favorite sentence in the world is "Bara gasa," it's Swedish for just go full throttle. That's his solution to every problem here in life.
Yeah, every situation.
He's also, yeah, exactly, and he's also basically Rasmus. I think you, except from every little bit of piece of tarmac we did, you were the front guy in the group for the entire trip.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
more or less, at least.
The navigator in front, pushing the pace a little bit. And we have Stefan here. Stefan, you live in Copenhagen as I do, but you're originally from Germany.
Yeah, this is right. So
this is right. And you, I think I heard you say once yourself that you used to do enduro riding, but you were the worst in the world to do enduro riding, so you switched over to ADV bikes.
Yeah, I was doing it in Denmark, and I think I was always more or less the last guy coming in. So, but yeah, after 2 concussions, I stopped doing that, and now I'm crashing with a big bike. So.
Yeah, exactly. And you missed out a bit on the trip because on day 4, the big day of all accidents, you sprained your ankle on a grassy field in Croatia.
Yeah. So it's like when this 200 kilos plus fall on your ankles, it hurts. It's not so good. Well, it was a good idea. I bought new boots that for this trip. Otherwise, I probably had a broken ankle.
Probably had the leg fall off. Yeah. And we have Sven down here. Sven, can you give a little wave to the camera here, please?
Hello.
Sven's favorite sentence, I think, throughout the movie is "Fuck, I suck at this."
Yep. Sir Paul a lot.
Yeah, but I think everybody else on the team agrees that you definitely do not suck at adventure riding, and we love to have you on the team, Sven. It's an absolute pleasure.
There's always an adventure when I'm there.
Yeah, exactly. And if I remember correctly, the challenging section in Bosnia, the first one we did, Rasmus was screaming because he wanted to see the action, and you provide a lot of action on these trips, and it's fantastic.
I parked my bike and ran up the hill just to see Sven drown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was interesting. And we have one more guy, Jake, who also fell and sprained his ankle on the same day as you did, Stefan. He was first in, but he's at a concert tonight, so he won't be joining us, unfortunately. But yeah, we're all wearing. Stefan, what's your T-shirt, man? Didn't you get the memo?
Yeah, I got the memo. I have a flu. I have a sick family around, so I just had to bring my daughter to bed. So, and then I could just join you at 8:30. So you have to take this.
Yeah, but that's fantastic. But actually, Johannes, I think it would be. Can you tell me a little bit more about this group, which is called the Introvert Adventure Riders, and how that kind of started and how that came up? Because that's basically the T-shirt says Introvert Adventure Riders, and it says where the comfort zone ends, which we also had quite fun with on the tour. But how did that come up, Johannes? The whole Introvert Adventure Rider group.
So yeah, good question. In 2022, says here on our shirts, through my YouTube channel, I think I had like 1,000 subscribers at the time. I said through the community tab that I wanted someone to ride the Tet with here in Norway, and if I could bring everyone that reached out to me, we would have been like 50 people. But these beautiful faces that you can see in front of you, everyone, are the people who joined first. So we rode the Norwegian Tet, a week or so, and it was just, we couldn't be more dissimilar. I mean, the variation in this group is crazy. Somehow we got together and clicked due to this strange love for the motorcycle, and from there on out it has just been teams chats like this, drinking beer, going on other trips together, and and I met you down in Portugal. You Pit.
You were. I got on a bit later because you did the Norwegian trip and you did the Baltics. And that was before I got in there. And then we met up. You, Ingvar, and me met up in Portugal in November last year, so a little bit more than a year ago now.
Yeah.
And this summer we took on the Balkans together. We had like a few rides in the spring as well, together with the entire group. So I got invited into the group, even though I'm absolutely not an introvert. I'm waving the false flag here. I'm definitely more like, if you have to categorize it, more like an extrovert. But here you go. I'm in the group.
We need someone
I love
to
being in the group.
communicate with the rest of the world.
Exactly. We need somebody to do all the filming and get it out there.
But as you saw, Daniel, and everyone who watched your excellent series, we cannot just be 5 riders, because there will always be at least 1 or 2 leg breaks during the trip. So we have to have substitutes, and
we have to have spares.
Exactly. So yeah.
So there's the water boy and the camera boy. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Fantastic. All right. I was wondering, just to get the chat talking a little bit more about the actual trip, Rasmus. I remember we were riding during the evening after we left Montenegro, the border for Montenegro, and starting on Bosnia. We were really struggling. That's actually where Sven nearly drowned in a puddle. And as soon as we kind of got out of that and got near Youre, which is the ski resort in town, you said on the cardo, like, this is my favorite track of the trip so far. Is that your favorite moment from the trip, or the favorite track from the trip, or what's your take on it?
Yeah, absolutely. That track was amazing. And just arriving at this old ski resort in the middle of the summer, and we had to do some enduro riding just to get in there. And then find a cabin in a ski resort in the middle of the summer. There was like nothing open, and couldn't get food anywhere except from a really posh hotel. So yeah, but the tracks there was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. It's for me, it was kind of, I was so exhilarated to ride those tracks, but I was also so much on the edge of my limit of comfortable feeling comfortable versus uncomfortable, because the challenging track was really challenging, and it was late at night. We had been riding all day, and we hadn't had enough to drink, and we didn't know if we could make it, or where we're going to sleep, or what is this going to end up with. And coming out of then the challenging tracks, and then riding with the sun straight in your eyes, you could not see anything on those tracks. I just remember you being in front. The right track is clear all the way. Take the right track. And I was just riding blind, looking down as much as possible. But so, I mean, I also think that it was definitely one of the most memorable evenings. But it's also because for me, I was really on the limit of what I could feel comfortable with. It was really rough going. So I also remember the feeling of being very relieved once we got to the ski resort town. And I think, how do you feel, Sven? You were a bit on the
I was
on the
bored.
squeezed side.
I have an
love that.
awesome memory of one of Sven's crashes in Croatia. I was approximately 5 minutes ahead of you guys, racing on my own, and I go up this really steep hill climb, and I will wait here, and I could see the track from the other side of the valley. So I took out my phone and I started to film, and then I see Sven comes and crash like a maniac up this uphill, and I just film him for 2 seconds and then just swipe around and continue filming, not bother at all. I had that on my phone. That's amazing.
Yeah. I remember where that was. That was the day where I lost the sound on my microphone and everything just messed up. And we were on the first loop of the Croatian set. We kind of done all the mountains, and we got into the dry up to where the sun has actually started shining. And I think we was falling behind a little bit. And we came up to, I think actually there's a clip from that as well where
it's episode 2. Episode 2, it's 7 minutes in, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was great. I mean, and 5 minutes later, once we got off that hill where Sven had a crash, then we were almost at the town where we're going to eat dinner or lunch, and then head on the other track. And just before we got off the last trail, Jake had a fall on the uphill and smashes up his ankle.
But that track where Jake crashed, that was amazing as well. These red dirt tracks and the rocky as well. Yeah,
it was crazy to me how different those two loops are. They're just next to each other, but it was just completely different terrain. It was like riding in Montenegro and riding in Croatia. It was so different.
I see we have a question in the chat, but I think it's perhaps more to Ingvar than Sven.
Oh, yeah. Sven can answer it first.
Let's see. I can't see the question set.
Okay, Sven, how do you feel about the Tenere World Raid compared to the stock T7? But you haven't ridden.
I've never tried the World Raid.
But Ingvar's own both.
Yeah, I don't know. The difference is the center of gravity is lower, but I have done so much to my bike that you can't really compare them at all. So, but I like the world raid. So, but let's see. Maybe I'm going back to the standard model in 2025. But we'll see.
Yeah, standard. Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Yeah,
Standard for a
exactly.
while.
There's no standard with Ingvar. Ingvar has more money worth of spare parts than the rest of our bike combined, I think. Anyway, Johannes, what was your favorite? Do you have like one thing you think back of when you think of the trip, that evening or that afternoon, or?
I think just the whole trip with you guys was just memories for a lifetime. But I do remember this one thing, and we've laughed many times. I'm an aging man, and the body reacts in certain ways. And I remember I tried that hill climb after Ingvar, and I cannot let my father be better than me. So I had to retry several times, and I kept crashing, and the bash plate fell off my PR7. And we were in the baking sun. It was like 35 degrees, and I was sweaty. I was tired. I was a bit disappointed in my own ability to not beat Ingvar up that hill.
On the lighter bike?
On a much lighter bike, a better bike, less powerful though. So regardless, I was fixing my fucking bash plate, and I didn't manage. And then I can feel someone scratch the rear of my head, and he says, it's getting rather thin up here. And I was like, that was at least last thing that I would like to hear in a situation like that.
In a situation like that.
Oh, it was just, if it was anyone else besides Rasmus, I would have given the right one. But yeah, I can laugh at it now, but it's a sore spot for me losing my hair. But that's a part.
Hey, I almost had you in arm wrestling. Almost.
Almost.
Whoa. Slow down there, Tiger.
You had a few like alpha male competitions there. You also had the little running contest and a jumping contest one night.
Yeah,
That must be the virility of the guys that are still hanging around at the lower end. 30.
It's been a cockfight since the beginning.
And Rasmus, when we first met here in Norway, he was just so many miles ahead in terms of riding experience and skill, and I have been very slowly building up. So we kept pushing this last trip. I'm sure he has like 50% left in the tank, but when we go off the bikes for the night, I still have that need to put him in his spot after being in his dust for a full day.
Yeah, I noticed a few times, and actually also with you, Sven, you were also quite keen on the more flat gravel roads to keep up with Rasmus and Johannes, where I was definitely preserving myself and my bike for those kind of speeds, which is but yeah. Is I think one of the moments, I think it's also very clear from all the videos that I think my favorite part of the trip was Montenegro, like conserved as an overall thing. At least if I had to recommend one country to somebody, it would be Montenegro, and I think that comes out quite clear in the series as well. But I think we've been riding in Slovenia and in Croatia, where there's beautiful mountains. No, there's no taking away from that. But getting into that first day in Montenegro, when we got really up to the high mountain, I was just blown away by the views and be able to ride in that landscape up there. I think that's probably one of the absolute highlights for me. Like thinking of we getting up to that really top steep before we had to go down the big downhill one, that was absolutely amazing for me. I think looking back on the entire trip, that's probably my favorite memory, the one that I immediately think of, basically when I think of the Balkans.
There's a couple of questions. There's a couple of questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Would you have done, first of all, who was the guy on the in the older series on the white Africa Twin 750?
That's a random question, and off topic, but that's my good friend Morten, who is he's here from Copenhagen, so he's not in this. He's not in the Balkan trip. Yeah, unfortunately, it's when we left for the Balkans. It's first of all, it's a limitation of how many bikes can you bring, because we had trailers and vans, but it's also, of course, a question of which I think is very relevant to talk about. Basically, when you go on a long trip, it's important to be sure that you will have a good time spending 2 weeks together. It's not it can be a fantastic place to meet new people that is going to ride together for 2 weeks, but also riding together for 2 weeks with people is a risk, because there might be the situation where people don't get along, and then it messes up the balance a little bit of a trip like that. So we didn't really bring anyone who hadn't been riding with the group before to the Balkan trip, which I think is a in many ways playing it safe a little bit, because it can be risky to bring people on a trip that you haven't been riding with before, at least if you're meant to drive together for 2 weeks. And it's not like there's none of us who could kind of bail off and say, okay, I'm going to take home now, because we had cars parked in Slovenia, and we were meeting up and riding together, so we were kind of bound together on that trip. But that's just to answer that. That was a long answer to a very short question. That is my good friend Morten. He's here from Copenhagen.
The other question is, would you have done this trip on the CRF 300s?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
yes,
absolutely.
my answer would be yes.
Yeah. When we are in Portugal, we use the CRF 300s, and they would be very good on a trip like this.
Yeah. I think for the most part, the CRF would probably, for me at least, be a better choice. I would have an easier time, but sometimes it's not about having an easy time. Sometimes it's also part of the challenge to ride a bike that demands that you get better at riding. I think I can immediately feel that when I'm on the CRF 300 and I meet a very steep hill climb, I don't get nervous and anxious in the same way as I do it when I'm on the T7. If I'm on a T7 and we get to those hill climbs, I'm kind of like, fuck, if this goes wrong, then I'm gonna be stuck somewhere. Whereas with the CRF, you can bail out a little bit easier. I think it would be a great bike to ride the Balkans. I don't know if I would prefer to do it on the CRF or my T7. What do you think, Ingmar? You've also had quite a lot of experience with both.
I could do it on the CRF, but I think it's like you said, it's more challenging when you do it on the T7, but something in between would be nice. So maybe
the PR7
I could use my own. Yeah, so if I can use my own PR7 this time, maybe.
Maybe we should clear that up, because actually, that bike Johannes is riding in the Balkans. At the time, that's your bike, Johannes.
It was. I wouldn't have rode it that fast. It wasn't. But it's currently in Ingvar's garage, and I am keeping the money for now. We'll see what happens.
As we explained to everybody, Ingvar is a non-biological older brother of Johannes.
I'm done explaining to people on my channel, at least, why I have a certain bike or certain bikes or change bikes. I do what I want, and
you can reveal the mystery bike here and now that never saw the light of day.
Yeah. So back to the question regarding bikes. I think when it comes to the T7, I rode the PR7 for the full trip, and it's a much more capable bike than the T7, and the consequences are less dire because it's so much lighter and better brakes and better suspension. However, and that's good for the climbs and the technical stuff. However, when I rode the Rasmus T7 for an hour or so, just standing up on an adventure bike, because the ergonomics are so much more relaxed. When you ride for 10 hours every day standing, it's just much better with the big bike, I think, compared to the smaller ones, because you're in the attack position all time, and you're just straining your back. And I just ended up sitting at the back of you guys, sitting on the PR7 through everything, because I was completely toast physically. So it's
I remember that from when we were driving down from the last challenging section we did in Bosnia, where we drove all the way up to Belasnik, to Brasina, that mountaintop near Mostar. And on the way down, you were just done. You could not stand up for any more on that bike. You just had to sit down, and yeah.
So it's a compromise every time. And I don't think I would have done the exact same trip on a T7 right now, but yeah, again, it's a compromise. It's hard to decide. I wish I could take two bikes, but it's because it's so much variation in terms of difficulty.
If I was as strong as you were, Johannes, I would have no issue. I would just bring the T7 every time.
We have a question about tires as well.
Now, but hang on, we're skipping one question, because I see Robert is here, our fellow Scandinavian, and he's asking who packed something completely.
That was after. The tire question is before that.
Okay.
So
jump in the gun here.
The tires we used, I think you can see it here. We all used Mitas tires, the E12, E13, or whatever they are called now, Rally, Enduro, Trial Pro, something. Except Johannes, who was using
Pro.
Yeah, Rally Star, super light.
Yeah. Rally Star, yes.
Except Johannes, who was using some old worn-out TKC 80s, I think.
Yeah.
And we did not have a Moose in. They would not survive 3,000 kilometers in that heat. No way.
No, we were all just riding tubed wheels. Nobody had tubeless or anything, and we had two flats, 7 bikes, 2 flats through 3,000 kilometers, which was amazing. Yeah. Robert is asking who packed something completely useless for the trip. I think we need to go to Sven for that. We're definitely not asking
90% of Sven's luggage was useless.
But he was
I have to say this. I have to say something. When me and my wife watched the last episode a few nights ago, my wife said to me, Sven needs to pack lighter on the next trip, right? And I said, yes, need to be. And she said, depending on Sven's stuff, you need to pack your own stuff. Sven can carry everything.
Yeah, no, that's true. We were chatting a lot before we went on the trip, like who's bringing what, because there's no need of all of us bringing a spare tire set for the T7, because we're all riding T7s except from Johannes. So there's no need to have 7 sets of wheel nuts removers for the T7. So we did some planning about who was bringing what, but absolutely, yes, Sven ended up bringing the most stuff. Johannes ended up bringing.
This time I didn't bring the compressor. And how did that work out?
Yeah, everybody was doing
a lot of work.
I got home with Ingvar's underpants, leggings, socks, and T-shirt under this, so I didn't even have to bring.
You're pushing it. You're almost that guy who shows up on race day and hasn't gotten anything in control by himself. He's just depending on everybody else. That's almost you, Johannes. But
can I share a quick story?
You pay it back.
Can I share a quick story?
Yeah, sure.
When I went to the Pyrenees last year, I met up with this Polish guy called Shem, world's nicest guy, and he, after just meeting him at the end of the day, he looked me in the eyes and said, Johannes, through your channel, I have this impression of you that you're a guy who gets ready for stuff, being in the army and police and whatnot. You have things under control, but it doesn't seem like it now that I've met you in person. And we just laughed. So it's just, I'm not packing anything. I just depend on my friends, and it works out so far.
Yeah, absolutely. But then again, I mean, it's also very hard for you to take a day off and go on your own because you don't have a phone that has GPS. You don't have any tools. You don't have any spare tubes. It's like you're shit out of luck if you're on your own for a little bit.
But I think he had the loft. What is like the pump when Ingvar had a flat. So
yeah. The small pump was mine.
Yeah.
I brought tools. I brought tubes. So yeah, I did my part, I think.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I can remember we had the discussion before we leave how many front tire tubes we should take with us, or if we even should take some rear tires tubes with us. So this was good as well. We figured this out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we weren't unprepared. And the only thing that kind of stopped us in our tracks once was when Ingvar's battery kind of died on us in the middle of nowhere. But other than that, we had everything. Yeah, or let's say Sven had everything. So we could have pulled off a lot of different mechanical errors on it. Stefan, I'm quite interested actually, because I don't even think we had time to talk about this, because you and Jake, you kind of left on day 4. We were always I think on the trip we talked about it was day 3. That is always the day of bad luck, but this was day 4 basically. Am I right?
I cannot remember because we had like 2 days where we didn't sleep. So I mean,
I'm pretty sure it was day 4. And then you and Jake, you kind of teamed up a little bit, at least when we got to Croatia. But how was your trip? You did more tarmac and the more scenic tarmac routes, the GS route.
Yeah, we took the GS route. I mean, the good thing after I mean, when we decided to not continue going on the TED, we said we could relax a little bit, because I was feeling quite unsafe going on the TED, because I couldn't reach my rear brake when I was sitting down. So this didn't feel so good. So and I would say the first day was quite amazing.
I have a solution for Stefan for next year.
Yeah.
Since I have bought some brake kit for the T7.
Wow.
So we can install it on your bike, so you can use the back brake with your thumb. So if you sprain your ankle next year, we can put that on your bike.
Oh, good idea, yeah.
But then it has to be the right foot, and then if it's the left foot, then we have to use Jake's little suicide shifter with the paracord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually talked him into this with the suicide shifter. Said, "Oh yeah, well, this is a good idea." It looked so crazy when he was going.
Yeah, but it's also very Jake to do this solution, to do like a weird, like little mechanical weird thing to his bike and little quirky thing to make it all work. I think that was Jake every morning. He was up before everybody, but he also was probably the guy who was always the most, the latest, the most, because he always had to fix the last little things before he was ready. Before clutch out.
I mean, he had like a lot of tools with him as well. I mean, so on this little bike there was a lot of things. I was surprised what he could pull out of it. So
yeah.
And I mean,
okay,
the first day, yeah.
And also we need to remember that he had been on the trail almost a week before he met us, and was also going on the trail back to Spain.
Yeah,
he was on the road for a month.
Yeah. So we were actually just a little side project. Another question. Let's see if we have a few more questions here. Is there any?
Any plans for 2025?
Yeah, we got the plan. We got a plan for 2025, right?
Yeah, we do.
Need some ideas.
Yeah.
Should we disclose some of our Discord chat here, where Johannes was kind of bailing out a little bit for the big trip during the summer because of other plans, and then And then I was like, I need to go on a big trip. Maybe I'll just do the Mongolia thing and go on a tour and stuff. But then everybody else just follows suit as well. I'm also up for the big trip. Let's plan another big trip. But so for now, you're not joining us this summer, Johannes.
No, I am not. We are expecting our second child to hit in midsummer, so I have to do. I mean, what you say, you reap what you sow. I mean, I've done my things, and I have to be there for the family. So yeah, those 5 seconds were totally worth it. We will find something else to do, and if not 2025, there's a 26 coming. And I'm sure we'll do something amazing then as well.
Yeah, we have. I'm really hoping that you're still joining us. We did last year as well. We're going to do that this year again. Some early spring trip just to celebrate the new riding season. We haven't decided on where to do that yet, but we're definitely doing that. And then for now, without putting anything into the concrete, we have a plan of going back to the Balkans actually in 2025, right, Rasmus?
That's right.
We talked about visiting Albania, which we would have, if we had more time, we would have gone there this summer, and probably also revisiting some places in Bosnia that we didn't get to do. And I think one thing that we also talked about, which I would prefer, which I would like, is to do a trip that wasn't maybe so focused on riding the entire TED. We talked about it might also be nice to explore beyond the TED. So we could have a hotel room for 2-3 days, one spot, and then explore all the trails in that area. For example, I remember in Montenegro, we talked about there's a lot of trails near Jezero Kapitanovo. And it would have been amazing just to have a hotel room there that night and be able to ditch your baggage and then ride along the trails in that area instead of being so focused on we have to do the TED from A to B and finish everything. And now that we already did that once in the Balkans for those countries at least. So maybe it could be nice to do it a little bit more like we did for our spring trip where we park all our stuff and then we just ride from somewhere and have some good day rides from there.
We said the same after we did the Baltics last year because there was so many trails and so many cool things to see. But at the same time, it's cool to kind of check another country off your ADV list. But the Balkans, I personally think they were so incredible, both riding and the views, and perhaps not the coffee and food everywhere, but still the other things. So I could definitely see myself coming back there with you guys and just doing I mean, the trails across Montenegro, man, that was unbelievable. But there's definitely, then that's also one thing about the group dynamic where let's be honest, Rasmus, you have one goal, that's Baragossa. You want to go as fast and as long as possible and just keep going. And Ingmar, you're also a little bit the same. And I think you and me, Johannes, we're a little bit more, we like to stop and smell the roses once in a while. And so actually, how did you feel, Ras? Because I'm stopping all the time, I'm filming, and it's different dynamics sometimes that you go on these trips with. And
yeah, I have no problem with it. I love it, and I love the end result as well. So I might be a little bit grumpy, but that's just for show. I absolutely love your work, and I don't mind stopping at all. And if Johannes is not joining us this year, I think the pace will be a little bit slower because there is a little bit of a cockfight between us sometimes. So, yeah.
I will never forget.
My take on it is as well. We are doing these trips on adventure bikes, spent a lot of money on suspension and stuff. Of course, we're gonna ride them hard. When we are 50, 60, we can have a GS or a Harley and go back and just enjoy the views and take the tarmac road.
What did you say?
I think a little side note is this: is Rasmus is by far the youngest in the group, and then Johannes is next. and then the scale just goes quickly upwards from there. So
yeah, we are up here in GS
When we are
territory.
50, 60.
I love you guys.
Yeah, I think I was definitely sometimes during the trip. I'll be honest, and I totally get it, and it's different dynamics. But sometimes I was really frustrated. It's like, what the fuck is the hurry? Why can we just take a minute and then stay here for a little bit and ride a little less? But then again, I also enjoy like crossing off another country and have the desire to go visit somewhere else. But I think it's, again, I mentioned it a little bit, like if you go on a trip with somebody for 2 weeks, then it's important that you know that you're mainly going to have a good time, but you're not supposed to be the best mates and hugging all the time. You're going to be annoyed with everybody else if you're this many guys together in one trip. And just such a small thing like not being ready at clutch out because of whatever, and you end up being annoyed with everybody a little bit once in a while, and that's unavoidable. But it doesn't make it less of an adventure. I mean, it's just a group dynamic thing. It's something you don't have to worry about when you're riding solo, but then you don't get all the benefits of doing a trip with amazing friends like we did on this trip. So I'm just
we
checking
talked about the question from John Westrick, the question of if we had a limited amount of money and space, what 2 bikes we would choose. I have my pick. I have my dream setup. The big bike,
let's hear
it. T7. The T7 and my enduro bike, of course. That's all you need.
Yeah, the Sherco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same,
I think.
the same.
What do you think, Ingvar? You have a lot of bikes. You can actually just answer this question. Let's.
Yeah, well, I have the T7, the World Raid, and I have a crashed T7 World Raid, which I'm building to an enduro bike, and I have the AGP and FE 501. But I think the best for my use would be the T7 and a little bit smaller enduro bike, maybe a 300 or 250.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gee, I don't know. Yeah, I'm the same. Like I don't have any desire of having anything bigger than the T7. I would love like an EXC 300 with a rally tower or something, or that would be so much fun riding in some other places. Or I've been considering maybe if something like the Kobe 450 was something for me. But yeah, some nothing bigger than the T7. I don't think I've ever needed that. And then some smaller version, like a slightly adventurized enduro bike or something like the Kobe 450 for me, I would say.
Well, I have my wife to think about. I also have the 1290 for our vacations.
What's her name?
Christina.
No, your bike. I know your wife's name, but I've heard Emma. That's right, Emma.
Emma.
And your T7 is called
René.
René. That's of course. Yes, that's it.
We had a question about the percentage of gravel on the trip, and I mapped the whole trip using Stega when we were there, and I think it was like 73% or something like that gravel.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, but we did quite a few long runs on the tarmac to get down there. So
yeah, by choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was maybe the most memorable tarmac stretch we did into Montenegro this Friday afternoon. Oh my God.
I mean, it was quite a contrast riding the tarmac roads in Croatia, which was really, really beautiful and nice. And then getting into Montenegro, where it's just 2 lanes, massive traffic. That was horrible.
Everybody was driving like an idiot, and half of them were drunk.
I was really surprised by that.
The other day,
how many burning cars did we see?
But the villa at the end was sweet.
Johannes, what do you say? Come on, my friend.
The other day, I learned that Montenegro has 600,000 people, and everyone was on the road that day.
Yeah,
it was a mess.
True. That is true. Okay, I'll just browse. Is there any, Rasmus, you're also keeping track of the questions here. There's Jan, who's also asking, best country to go off-road riding for someone that doesn't have much experience off-road?
Sweden.
Norway, Sweden.
Yeah.
But
Easy.
It's pricey, very pricey.
Sweden is not pricey at all.
Not if you're a Dane now.
No, but it isn't. I mean, there's amazing camping availability everywhere. You can go to Sweden and
camp everywhere.
It's not expensive at all, and the gas is not more expensive than it is in Denmark or anywhere else. I mean, and there's not a lot of altitude on the TED here, and it's 250,000 kilometers of gravel roads, not on the TED, of course, but the gravel road network in Sweden is 250,000 kilometers. So yeah, I would say Sweden is the best country to practice, really, to get into gravel riding. And let's see what else is here. What about Iceland? It would be easy. Yeah. Björn Boson is asking, what about Iceland? I have been thinking about maybe trying to take the ferry from northern part of Denmark and to Iceland and do that trip. I have some very good friends, very close friends that lives in Iceland, and I've only been going there, and I would just absolutely love to bring my bike. But as I also say in my last video, I hate riding in the cold and rain, and you gotta be really, really lucky with the weather in Iceland, because even summer can be, you have to be really lucky to have a week with just decent weather.
But we have talked about doing the Balkans now and work our way east towards Romania and Turkey.
Romania, yeah, that would be amazing as well. But I mean, we're all still, we do have limited amount of time to doing these trips, so. I think Matthias is saying late to the party, but better late than never, Matthias. Skål.
Skål.
Skål, kompis. Robert is asking my video making background. I've been a photographer for 12 years, but still photography is my line of work. But the switch to doing video is so much the same compared to at least framing and working with light and knowing stuff about camera, and then all the editing stuff is what I really had to learn and really still do need to learn a lot about. So I don't have any specific video making background, but I've been a photographer for 12 years. That's basically been my job. Rasmus, the wife is on the line. Elin is saying, hi guys, hope to meet you all this summer at our place before the next adventure. Yes, of course. That's the route team.
Yeah, when the spring is coming up, and want to see your garage.
Yeah,
best thing to do.
Yeah, I want to go visit the garage as well. When are you getting it done so I can get my bike up there and we can start mending it?
2 months maybe. Then you can bring a T7 here.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Wow.
Johannes, you have a question if you miss your 701 and if it would be nice for this Balkan trip compared to a T7.
Well, I am 10 times the rider now than I was when I had the 701, so I can't really say, and I haven't ridden it for a long time. But I miss exiting a corner on pavement in 4th gear and just full throttle, because that engine is absolutely insane. I think it would have been an excellent bike for something like this. I mean, anything from a 701 up to a T7, within that range, you would be fine. If I had to choose again, 701 or T7, I would have gone with the T7, pretty sure. A third one, actually.
Yeah.
So did you already order the new one, or?
Let's not reveal everything right here right now. That's the videos that makes the most income and views, so I have to spare those for later. We'll see. No, I haven't. I have no.
Now
cash.
you're gonna review hiking boots. Do you remember? I was. I think it was fantastic that you're taking up hiking, but I just cannot. We just went on that trip, and when we passed those hikers at the Capitanovia Zero, and Ingmar, he's going, "Why do anybody hike here? Like, why walk? It's so much easier to drive." And what do you do when you get home? You decide you want to start pick up hiking and maybe go back to Montenegro for hiking.
Well, I didn't pick up hiking. I've been hiking my whole life, but it's photography that I've picked up actually, and it's if you're riding, sure, you could match those two, and I think you've done a good job at combining those two hobbies. But I like walking. I like slow-paced things. I read books. Yesterday I spent 10 hours baking a sourdough bread. I just need to slow down, and I'm working on achieving a higher level of mindfulness. And hiking, photography, baking, reading, knitting, it all works.
Yeah. That old man that has always been inside you, he's coming out more and more.
He is, Back
What
to
did
the
you
hair
say
thing,
about what did you say about me in the last video? That you have always considered me as a Viking, but I fell several steps because I didn't drink whiskey. And you have picked up knitting.
You know several points. I mean, what a pussy.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
No.
I am no Viking.
No,
It's just,
there's plenty of room for you to slow down, Johannes. You know that. I mean, I'm just scared about going on a trip where you're not going to be able to lift any of our bikes. I mean, what are we going to do? We're gonna be a
What
mess.
am I gonna do?
Yeah. All right. I don't see much more questions here. I'm wondering if do we have? I've written down here on my list here. Do we have any tips for traveling the Balkans? Like, what would you?
I have one.
Would you?
Actually.
Would you recommend somebody who's
Watch out for
hasn't
scorpions in the staircase.
Yeah, but you're like, I mean, that's where you fell several points in my book, Rasmus. That was seeing how you handle bugs and little things that rattle in the grass when we're out there. I mean, there's the pussy. No, but I'm thinking.
I would say
more
don't go alone.
Yeah, I would too, but at the same time, I would be scared about just to, it's always, I've been in that situation many times where people saying, don't do that alone or don't go there. And I also spoke to another guy who's making great YouTube films, Nick from Project Biker, and he went there just after me, and he's also quite a new and unexperienced rider, and he asked me what I think about him going there by himself. And to be honest, I was a little bit concerned about, because the sheer altitude of going up and down some of those climbs and descents, which takes an hour and a half, and there's no backtracking. You can't really go around it if you're ending up in one of those situations. You just have to get through it, basically. But I would never say, don't do it alone. I would just make sure that you're able to, if you do it alone, make sure that you're prepared, make sure that you can lift your bike, that you always have enough food and water to be stuck on a mountain for a night if you have to do that. Or, but you can end up in some tricky situations easier than you can on Ted Sweden, for example.
So an interesting question from Matthias here. Who was the most annoying, the most helpful, and the most optimistic in the team?
I think
That
I
is
can
so
fall
hard,
into
that
all of
depends.
those categories.
I think that depends on the day. I think one day Rasmus was the most annoying. Another day it was Sven, and then a third day it was Johannes, and one day it was one guy that was the most helpful. And I think I actually think.
But I think this is a character question, and helpful. It's gonna be Sven always, every day of the week.
Yeah.
No matter what, it's the helpful. That's Sven in a nutcase.
In a nutcase.
Annoying. That's probably me.
No, not at all.
Well, your wife seems to agree with you, Rasmus.
Yeah,
She says Rasmus is 100% the most annoying.
Yeah, but I'm young, so I can be annoying.
yeah, exactly. You still have that energy left.
Yeah, but it's like what Daniel, you talked about that earlier, that during a trip like this where we are at 14 days, you will always have some point of time where you're annoyed at one person or something is irritating you or anything, and the next day or an hour later it's over.
Yeah, for sure.
You are tired and frustrated and stuff like
and you're
that,
in 40 degrees in the sun, and if the same person hasn't done his belt buckles up on his luggage for the 10th time and you have to stop, then that's annoying. And then at that moment, that person is the most annoying. But then I would say, luckily, it's not like
much of it is that you're tired, you're annoyed with the situation as such, and you're perhaps annoyed with yourself because you can't handle something, and then you just have to find something to pin it on.
Yeah,
I think this is a good point, Sven, because I can remember the first day I crashed the bike a couple of times, and it takes so much from your self-esteem, so that you get up on the bike and you think just, okay, you are the worst driver in the world, you can do nothing. And then, every quarter where you don't fall is a good, you build up a little bit more and more. Then when you have like a half day or whole day without falling, you seem, okay, it's going good. So
and then I say it's bra to Gaza.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I agree, Sven. You are very helpful, and also you go beyond and above and beyond to help out, and that's amazing. But I think everybody helped out, especially people are also quite good in this group to kind of figure out what am I good at and what can I help with. So when we were on that super slippery downhill in Slovenia, and it took us 2 hours to drive 5 kilometers, then Johannes and Rasmus knows that they are really good and capable riders, and so they took the bikes and took them down those most tricky situations, because that's where their skill set is best. When Ingvar had a flat battery, then Stefan, you immediately drove and picked up the battery with Ingvar, but it was Sven who has the technical knowledge with all the acid mixing and weird stuff, that has the most experience in that, so that's where you're most helpful. And so I think we're all very different people, and we have very different skill set to contribute with, and I also think people realize that, and therefore knows when is it my turn to help. If Sven is stuck at a tricky uphill, then I'm not the first guy to spring to him and say, let me do it, let me ride the bike up. That's going to be Rasmus or Johannes, because they are more used to riding heavy bikes in enduro terrain than I am. But I think in general, you can't pinpoint one person who was either more annoying, more helpful, or more optimistic in the team. I think it's a mix and match of on the day and on the specific situation. So,
but overall, we get along really well.
Yeah, we do.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Even though we didn't have our own tent, we didn't sleep. We took turns having the single bed, if there were one, at the hotel room, but otherwise we slept and shared a bed on the entire trip, and we managed really well.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, that was the thing that hit me from the very first trip in Norway, when a bunch of guys from actually around the world, didn't know each other at all, just meeting up on a small road in Norway, and everything just worked. And then we picked up Stefan on the way and didn't kill him either. And we just realized that we just had to continue.
Yeah. And I'm very glad you did. That's kind of how I got into this group, and what made this entire series basically. And it wouldn't have happened without you guys inviting me into this. And so thank you very much for that, guys. I'm very grateful for the trip we had, and also earlier in the spring and during the year we had a lot of good trips and good memories together. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
And no worries. We needed a new YouTuber.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually it fell right in the job description when you had this, kind of went back a little bit on the YouTube thing. That's correct.
Another question here: who snores the loudest?
Christian.
It's definitely not you, Ingmar.
Christian.
I would have thought you would snore, Ingmar, but you don't snore at all.
No,
I don't think anyone in this group snores, actually.
Oh,
my
it
wife
has to
disagrees
be.
with that, but
It has to be Christian, but he's not here, and he wasn't on the Balkan trip, so
it wasn't on the trip, no. But
yeah.
But no, nobody snored at that it was annoying.
Yeah, it's quite amazing.
Yeah.
You have a question from Robot, Daniel, about backup files.
Video question. Do you backup files? You know what? I've been working as a photographer for 12 years, and knock on wood, I've never lost any files, not on a hard drive, not on a memory card, not on anything. And today it's, Stuart Twist is here. A good old friend from Portugal. Hey, Stuart.
Hello,
Good to
Stuart.
see you. Knock on wood, I've never lost a file. And today the memory cards are built so well. And so apart from the back falling into water, and I mean, I can't see it backup. So I don't do any backup. I just keep the memory cards, bring enough memory cards, basically. Matthias is also asking here, did you, Daniel, as the Claudio in the team? I think I have better hair than Claudio do. Like come on, Matthias. That's in the team, had the team patience with you stopping and filming, always tricky in team writing. Yeah, we talked a little bit about this. Rasmus felt maybe sometime a little bit like, okay, let's go on. We have a lot of stuff we need to go on, but otherwise, I mean, the thing about this group is they're calling themselves the Introvert adventure riders, but they're also media whores, all of them basically. They love to be on camera, and
sometimes I race ahead and have to stop 3 to 5 minutes and wait for you guys. And when you finally come, and I'm dying with all the flies and the heat, and we're just going to take a break now. So fuck my life.
Yeah. No, but in general, it worked really well. And I'm also there for the ride. I'm not there to do a video. I like to do the video and the films next to it, but I'm there to do the ride as well, which is a big difference from going on a trip where you're just meant to do the film, basically. The trip we had in the spring, Rasmus, the video we did together with the video with the AV rider wakes up in spring or whatever it was called. Yeah. That was just a day of riding, which was meant for filming. So everybody was kind of understanding that. But this is a trip where you go to do the trip and then you film a little bit next to it. So it's not like the film is not, it's made up of small sequences. And I might have stopped up a couple of times every day and said, can we stop here and do a little bit of video? I'm just going to stop here and watch you guys ride past me. But it's always, mostly it was in combination with people stopping. And so for me, it wasn't a problem. What do you think, guys?
No, I had no problems with it either.
No,
No
I have
problems.
no problem. And I might come to a bit to Rasmus' defense. Okay, he's eager to go, but if there's a reason to stop, he doesn't push on. It's mainly he can't stand people just dawdling around.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I think we have some weird background noise in the.
Yeah, I think it's you, Stefan, because
slide
I'm looking at the microphone and your microphone keeps doing like
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could
there
be
you
me.
go.
I hold my phone in the hand, so this is probably because I turned just up my
okay.
speaker.
Okay, thank you.
It's a noise from
Would
your
any
sinus.
would any of you be comfortable doing the Balkans trip solo?
No, I don't ride solo either. Ever. I don't find any joy in that, so I wouldn't do it.
I can't say honestly yes. I would feel uncomfortable at times, but I would love it as well. I would probably turn around more than I did with you guys. It's very, very comforting to know that you can get yourself out of a tricky situation and you have friends to help you out when you're tackling and something that's a little bit above your pay grade. But yeah, I wouldn't be completely comfortable in the sense that it would be a little bit too daring with my riding skills. But yeah, I would love to do it on my own. I love doing solo rides. So I wouldn't talk anybody out of doing that for sure.
Yeah, I did the Swedish and Finnish TET all by myself in 3 years ago. And that's okay because it's not very challenging, but I don't think I would do the Balkan by myself.
No, I think I mentioned Nick Jacobs from Project Biker before as well. He did it all by himself, and he's not a very experienced rider, and he's on a CRF 300, and he did the entire trip, but he just basically turned around whenever he was out of his depth and took another route, which is also, of course, a way to do it. If you find yourself in a situation, you have to make the decision: is this commitment, or is this above my pay grade? Can I do this if I try and really commit to it, or is this just I'm not even going to try that? And then you can just turn around basically from where you came from.
But I can relay back to the question about stopping and being annoyed, because I'm quite grateful that we stopped, because if I had done it solo, would have done it in 5 days and just raced through all the countries that haven't seen anything.
Yeah. All right. Is there any? I think we're a little bit more than an hour now. So unless there's any more questions here in the end, or if anybody else has something on their mind, I think we should slowly wrap it up here, guys.
There is another question. Is it possible to find out what sections of the TET is the more challenging? On the Bosnia TET, there is loops that says on the map that they are more challenging, but otherwise not, I think.
No, other than asking people that has already done it, of course, and that's something that I also get quite a few questions about, mostly on my Instagram, because there you can write personal messages, and I try to. I'm still not overflown with images or with messages, so I still try my best to answer them. But there's also the TED group, and isn't there, when you write the DMD2, when you have the DMD2 navigation, isn't there like also some markers put in somewhere? Or I think I remember we were driving in Portugal once, Ingvar, when you said there's like there's somebody marked a section with a very steep rocky uphill or something.
Yeah, that's if it's marked on the GPX track, then you get it.
Okay.
If not,
If the linesman has done a good job,
Yeah.
they can put out that point of interest with.
A lot also depends on the weather. I mean, the first days in that mudfest, that would have been quite easy if it was dry.
Absolutely, it would have taken us no time. And can you imagine the challenging section and that hill climb we did after that? If it's been pouring down for 2 days, it would have been impossible. So yeah. All right. Is there anything you guys want to say? Because otherwise, I'm gonna say yet again, thank you very much for this amazing trip that we had together, and I can't wait to do another one. And also looking forward to our first little rides in the beginning of the season here, where we're gonna meet up probably in Sweden or somewhere and start the season off all together.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and thank you everyone who's watched the series as well.
Yes, thank you everybody. There's a lot of people who's been very, very good at commenting and writing on every video, and it's first of all it's very pleasing when you put so much work into it, because trust me, there is a lot of work going into this. So it's very nice to hear that people are actually enjoying it and seeing it and takes the time to write me a comment, and I try to get back to everybody. And yeah, thank you to everybody who's been supporting the channel and help promoting it by writing a comment or saying something nice about it on the TED group or sharing it among friends. That's very much appreciated.
And like I said, Daniel, thank you so much for making the winter bearable to have this series to go back to.
It was my pleasure, Sven. I mean, I've just been basically going back to the trip so many times, sitting and editing it on the computer. So for myself, it's also quite a bit of feeding that abstinence thing that is not riding when it's winter season here and everything's just gray and wet and miserable.
I'm just amazed that how little I actually remember of the trip. But when I see the videos, it all comes.
It was the same. Same for me on every trip.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you in the next one. And thank you everybody who's been watching here. Cheers. And thank you for tonight.
Cheers.
Skål.
Cheers.
And I think we're off, right?
Good.